Today on the show, are Democrats bailing on the Democratic Party because of racism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism?
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So, it's a weird time, a very unusual time to be a Democrat. Here's the thing. If you were to observe the cliches of the last several decades, you would believe that if you were in any way, shape, or form a minority, then the Democrats, well, they were your people. And that's definitely what the Democrats liked people to believe. But there's some weird-ass stuff going on as we look at the Democratic Party. And by the way, just the mere fact that Donald Trump is president of these United States of America and ran as a Republican makes it strange enough to be on the right of the situation. But there's some really bizarre things happening in the Democratic Party that we haven't seen in, well, I don't know. Democratic Party, I suppose the real turning point came with Kennedy. Democratic Party used to be synonymous with racism. And you and I have talked about this a little bit in the past on the show, but, well, Kennedy, back in the day, was a Democrat. And when he was running for president, he had a problem. And that was Democrats had a tough time getting the black vote. Why? Well, because the KKK, the Klan, were basically all Democrats. It was one of those things where not all Democrats are Klan members, but all Klan members are definitely Democrats. That was, well, it was the truth at the time. And what happened was Kennedy needed the black vote and got the black vote by getting Martin Luther King out of some hot water, getting him out of jail. And from there on in, things started to shift and change. And by the way, when we talk about this, we always bring up the fact that this is why being a Republican because your parents were Republicans or being a Democrat because your parents were Democrats, it makes no sense. The identity of a party can change completely in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, voting straight ticket whatever is silly just because, I'm going to sidetrack myself into the whole sort of mental conspiracy theory that I built up in my mind, but it's true. They want you to be a registered something or other, so they know they can count on your vote without having to explain their actions to you. If you're a registered something or other, a Democrat or a Republican, whatever it is you are less likely to ask questions before pulling the lever of democracy. And politicians hate questions. They would much rather know they can just count on your blind Pavlovian-style knee-jerk reaction of a vote. They don't want to have to explain themselves. They just want to go, hey, I'm a Democrat. You're a Democrat? Cool. Thanks for your vote. I'm a Republican. You're a Republican. Huh, great. Oh, your parents were Republicans too. Fantastic. Got a family dynasty of unquestioning voters. Anyways, the identity of a political party, as we've seen, can change. Kennedy had a hard time as a Democrat back in the day because Democrats were inextricably associated with the KKK. Cut to, more recently, it's been an entirely different situation. Democrats would like anyone who's a minority to believe that they are the party for you. If you are different in terms of your gender or sexuality, if you are not white, then surely you must be a Democrat. Surely. But oh man, things are really changing. There's now, as we discussed on the show a week or so ago, a group formed within the Democratic Party to fight anti-Semitism also within the Democratic Party. Yeah. Who'd have thunk it? Democrats are concerned about growing anti-Semitism in their party. And that to me is crazy, because everyone I knew growing up that was Jewish, their parents were Democrats. And that was the only way for them to be. All my Jewish friends in the New York City area are Democrats, but they're starting to question things because, well, there's a conflict there, isn't there? There is growing sympathy for Palestine with regard to the whole religious brouhaha that's been going on in the Middle East since the dawn of time. A very complicated situation that we're not going to get into here, but there's a lot of people on the left. There's a lot of Democrats saying, we're not entirely sure about what Israel's doing in the Middle East. Yeah, we don't like Islamophobia. And the right seems to blindly attack and malign anyone who is Islamic. And therefore, well, we got a problem with that. And so there's growing sympathy for the Muslim side of the Muslim-Jewish conflict in the Middle East on the Democratic side. Does that make sense? Democrats are starting to question the actions of Israel and support Palestinians. Meanwhile, on the right, the battle cry is, we're a friend of Israel. So if you are a lifelong Democrat and you're Jewish, and that's always been kind of your spot, well, it's a little weird now. Because on the right, where you've been taught to believe anti-Semitism resides, there's all these people going, we're a friend of Israel. They're our friend in the Middle East. No one has ever hijacked a plane full of Americans in the name of Judaism. We are on their side. That is the side we're on. And meanwhile, while people on the right are going, yeah, we are pro-Israel, pro-Judaism all the way, people on the left are going, I don't know about Netanyahu side-eyeing this whole religious state, side-eyeing this whole religious country. I'm not so sure about this. Why should Muslims not have a fair crack of the whip when it comes to our support politically and financially? And all of a sudden, if you're Jewish and a lifelong Democrat, you're going, oh man, where is my home exactly? And look, it's even more interesting than that. Democratic Party recently has had all sorts of skirmishes with minorities that could, if you're a minority that's been a lifelong Democrat, make you go, I got some serious thinking to do. In fact, it will probably go down in history as the defining moment of the Democratic Party this year, what we're going to talk about next. And it's not a good look.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So if you are a Democrat and right now your blood's boiling and you're going, hey, this guy is talking smack about my party, my beliefs, my politics. No, I am a casual observer. I'm not on the side of the right. I'm not on the side of the left. I'm on the side of you, of me, of all of us, of humanity, of Americans. I don't believe in the two-party system. I think the whole thing's a crock. Created to divest you of your critical thinking abilities and your money when it comes to campaign finance and things of that nature. I don't buy it. And you know what? I'm beginning to feel a little less alone in that. Because, well, for the longest time, if people couldn't label you, they were kind of scared of you. They didn't understand you. I'd get letters and emails and tweets from people after doing this show for a while. And they would invariably, because they couldn't identify me and pin me down politically, go a couple different ways. Way number one was, you make so much sense. You must be a Republican. Or, you make so much sense. You must be a Democrat. I mean, I know, you sympathize with both sides, but really you're on my side. I would get that. And then I would get the folks that would say, oh yeah, you're a secret liberal commie redcoat lefty that hates America. Or you Nazi sympathizer. It's weird. That was a general reaction when I first got on the air and refused to be pinned down. People don't like what they don't understand. People are afraid of what they don't understand. People are nervous about something they can't slap a label on. If it's not a simple narrative, then it makes simple people uncomfortable. But lately, things have kind of changed a little bit. And I think there's a lot of people sort of starting to feel a little bit more independent of party politics. And that's a good thing. Look, America is a nation that was founded on the idea of individual liberty and choice. Yet really, we're a country of joiners. If you're not part of a group, if you're not part of an easily identifiable group, if people can't size you up super quick, they get uncomfortable with you. I've never really liked the herd mentality or groups or dressing alike and following each other around. It has never been my jam, yo. And I don't buy into the idea of the Democratic Party. I don't buy into the idea, I don't buy into the idea of being a Democrat, and I don't buy into the idea of being a Republican. And in the past, that used to make people uncomfortable. But now people are spotting these massive moral compromises on both sides of the political fence, and they're leaning towards independence, which involves a little bit more thought about who you are and what matters to you than just blindly pledging allegiance to one party or another. So if you are moving a little bit more toward independence, then I'm stoked to have you. And, I think the reason people are moving a little bit more toward independence is because there are morally reprehensible things happening on both sides of the political fence that it's very difficult to be associated with. I mean, first and foremost, if you're a Republican and Donald Trump is the person that is speaking for you, that's a tough pill to swallow. I know a lot of people, and look, you might be a fan of Trump, you might be a fan of his policies, but just the way he goes through the world, the things he says and does and tweets, oh God, the things he tweets are enough to make any lifelong Republican go, I don't want to be associated with that. That's not someone who I want saying that's your guy about. I used to be a Republican, but until this has come to pass, and maybe even after that, I think I'm going to have to call myself a conservative independent. And on the left, there are these difficult situations. It used to be kind of a boilerplate thing on the left. If you were a minority, well, you were told that that was your place, that was safe, full of people that would understand you and not hold it against you that you were a minority. The left did a really good job for many, many years of occupying the moral high ground. Saying, Republicans are racist, Republicans only care about money, Republicans are inhuman, all of the above. And for a long time, people bought into that, but that's starting to change. Like I said, within the Democratic Party, there is growing fear of anti-Semitism from Democrats. There's an uneasiness that has crept into it. There's weird conflicts of allegiances when it comes to what's going on in the Middle East and the right being pro-Israel all the way. And there's a weird conflict of allegiance now in the Democratic Party if you happen to be black and gay. Some weird-ass stuff has been happening recently that challenges the preconception of what it is to be a Democrat and makes people go, nah, maybe I'm an independent progressive instead of being a straight ticket voting Democrat. I mean, this will go down in the history books as perhaps being a turning point. Only because that whole Ralph Northam blackface thing, yeah, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's trying, but this man is a Democrat. It's so funny. It's so funny. I was talking to a friend, a coworker who I won't name by name, that is not overly politically interested. But I was like, oh man, that Virginia governor, right? And they're like, ugh, typical. I mean, look, it's the South, the Republicans. I was like, no, he's a Democrat. What? Oh, yeah. The guy that did the incredibly racist and unforgivable thing, Democrat. Really? Yeah. There's people that don't know, that just automatically assume because he did something that was unforgivably racist, Ralph Northam was a Republican. And of course he wouldn't. Did you see what he's doing now? He's going on a statewide listening tour. Yeah, Northam and his advisors are close to finalizing plans for a statewide listening tour to engage different communities in conversations about race. Basically, you did something incredibly dumb and incredibly stupid and incredibly racist and incredibly hurtful many, many years ago, and now you're trying to make good on it. And so you're going to go on a listening tour. Bitch, you're a public servant. You were supposed to be listening this whole freaking time. The blood, sweat, and tears, the hard work, the tax dollars of the people of Virginia. That's been putting money in your pocket for your entire political career. You're supposed to listen to them in the first place. You shouldn't need to go on a listening tour now. But whatever. Potato. He's going on a listening tour. In addition to that, he is looking at recalibrating his legislative agenda to focus on race and equality. See, this is not the problem that you would imagine a Democrat would be having, stereotypically speaking. But no, a Democrat got caught doing something racist and now is going on a listening tour and will be focusing on race and equality. He wants to increase funding to Virginia's 5 historically black colleges and universities. His advisors say that the goal of the tour is not just to listen, but to share what he has learned from his own experience. Basically an I'm sorry tour. Trevor Noah from The Daily Show said black people in Virginia can ask Northam for anything now because he has a racism debt that he has to pay off. And he said, white guilt can be very useful, my friends. Black people in Virginia can ask Governor Northam for anything. Better schools, criminal justice reform, a holiday for Beyonce's birthday. A black person in Virginia could ask Northam to pick him up from the airport and he'll be like, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land.
All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
So yeah, there's a bit of an identity crisis happening right now within the Democratic Party. And you know what? It's interesting. Look, politicians have a way of screaming and yelling and then becoming best friends when they realize they're not getting the nomination and they're looking to be vice something or other. But there's going to be an awful lot of back and forth. There's going to be an awful lot of Democrats tearing each other apart. I mean, everyone and their dog from the Democratic Party has decided that they're taking a run at being president of these United States of America. I am popping the popcorn because it is going to get ugly and it is going to get interesting on that side real quick. It's already started. I mean, look, Beto O'Rourke. He was the hope for the Democratic Party in 2020. He lost to Ted Cruz. Good. He can run for president. We love Beto. Beto's awesome. Beto's the man. Beto looks like a Kennedy. Beto skateboards, and Beto used to be in a punk rock band. Beto 2020. And, well, all of a sudden it was, no, Beto is entirely too white, too male, and too privileged to be able to speak effectively for Americans. How could a white male possibly lead us? No. So, who's to say? Will Beto still take a swing at being president? I don't know. But there are people speaking out against him very firmly with his own, within his own party that firmly had his back not so long ago. It's an interesting one. And while the Democratic Party has traditionally been, as we've been discussing for decades, the safe place to hang out if you happen to be a minority, if you have a sexuality that is different from being straight, if you have a color of skin that is different from being white, if you are a woman. For the most part, it seemed like you were safer hanging with the Dems than the Republicans. But now, like we said, Democratic governor got popped doing blackface in college, and well, that was horrible, obviously, and now he's apologizing, and now people that are black that have felt like the Democratic Party has always been their jam are going, I don't know about this. Similarly, if you are Jewish, there's concerns about growing anti-Semitic sentiments within the Democratic Party. So that makes them go, what's next? One wonders, because this might not be it, even though it has been for a very long time. And then, if you were gay, being a Democrat seemed like the safe bet. One of my best friends is gay, and he was like, I don't understand how anyone could be gay and Republican. It's just absolutely insane. You can't be a gay Republican. It just doesn't track. And we didn't talk about why, but he has his reasons for thinking that, I'm sure. And historically speaking, when it came to people that oppose basic human rights, like, getting married, you didn't find dissent on the left. Well, unless, you rewind the tape a couple of years ago and look at Hillary Clinton saying, no, gay marriage is not okay with me. But, like I said, the times they are changing. I think this could lead to a lot more independent thinking, because that warm hug that was the political party your parents were all about when you were growing up isn't necessarily seeming all that great now as an adult, whether you're on the right or the left. If you're on the right and you're going, oh man, he tweeted what? I can't say that's my guy. I've got to be a conservative independent. Or if you're on the left and you're going, oh man, anti-Semitism in my party? That's not cool with me. Because it's just not cool. So I guess I'm going to have to be a progressive independent. The boilerplate identity of the political parties, I think, is starting to come apart a little bit. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. But the Republicans will get over it because they're in power. And as much as it might be a conflict of interest for them to be associated with Donald Trump, they still like the whole thing where they won. So they'll support their guy. They won't like it. They won't like it necessarily. They'll grit their teeth while they do some of it. And they will go, oh, he tweeted what? Throughout the entire process. But they'll support their guy. On the left, they might tear each other apart before 2020 happens. And it could be a ragtag band of nothing that steps up to the podium trying to unseat Donald Trump. And, well, like I was saying, even if you're gay now, there are some questions on the left. Couldn't believe that Democrat city councilman in New York City, did you see this? He's gone on the record saying he will not apologize. It's Democrat. He will not apologize for saying that the council is controlled by the homosexual community. His words, not mine. This guy called Ruben Diaz Jr. And if you miss it, he's gone on the record saying vehemently, he will not apologize, and he'd rather give up his powerful committee assignments than do it. Now, the controversy goes back to this interview that he gave to the Spanish language radio show El Desahogo, I think it's called. Diaz said that he was rebuffed at first because of the homosexual community. And the fact that the homosexual community, again, his words, not mine, controlled most city council members. He also said that city council speaker Corey Johnson was gay and married to another man. Johnson said, quote, "We are currently reviewing all potential disciplinary scenarios. Nothing is off the table." But he's saying, I'm not apologizing. You can take it away from me. I'm going to stand by what I said. The council is controlled by the homosexual community. The council's LGBTQ caucus and women's caucus demanded his resignation in a joint statement. But he said no. And not only that, he doubled down on his controversial remarks. And he claimed that Albany was also under the, and I quote, control of the, quote, gay community. He went on the record after being reprimanded and told to apologize and threatened with people saying that his resignation would be demanded. He went on the record saying, people don't want me to speak the truth. They not only control city council, and by they he means homosexual community, they not only control city council, they control the politics in the state, in the entire state of New York. According to this guy, a Democrat, the homosexual community controls all the politics. And then he was obviously accused of being homophobic. And he said, how could I be homophobic when I voted for him, for Corey Johnson, to be speaker? A Democrat, ladies and gentlemen. So, on the left, the place where it's supposedly been safe to be a minority in the past, you got prominent politicians saying that the entire state is controlled by the homosexual community. Basically saying there's a gay plot in New York. On the left, you have growing fears of anti-Semitism within your party. On the left, and this is probably the piece of political history that will be most remembered in 2019. And, well, I mean, I know it's a new year and everything, but this one's going to be sticking around. On the left, you got a Democrat governor that did something hideously racist and is now going on an apology tour. Which means he thinks he's got a political career that can still be salvaged. He went, it was racist, but not racist enough for me to quit. No. Al Franken, he had to quit. He honked a woman's boobs while she was asleep. He clearly has to quit. I only did something racist, so I'm going to go on an apology tour, and I'm going to keep my political career going. Now, you add all this stuff up, and like I said, if you're a Democrat, specifically if you're any kind of a minority, I would imagine you're starting to feel significantly less at home. I would imagine that you're starting to question things. I would imagine that you're starting to go, oh, wait a second, folks on the right, they're pro-Israel. Maybe I should check out that option, or maybe I should just refer to myself as an independent moving forward. Like I said, it's some interesting times on the left. I'm popping some popcorn. I am going to be a casual observer of all of this. And anyone that wants to join me in this little circle of independence that I hang out in, where I make, decisions based on issues as they come to me, you are more than welcome to join me. It's a surprisingly freeing place to be. You don't have your security blanket, but you have your integrity.
Now, more AD on the radio.
You and I will get into the events of today in our segment My Witness News in just a little bit. Right now, though, bearing in mind that it's Valentine's Day Eve, let's talk about what it takes to have a successful relationship. Meet someone, ask them out, go on a date, be in it for the long haul, and make it work. 9 out of 10 couples will say you have to be able to communicate effectively. 9 out of 10 couples will probably also tell you that their partner is not that great of a communicator. And you know what? It's interesting. I think Ray Romano really nailed this one when he talked about being a bad communicator within a couple.
Please, somebody tell me they saw this movie Everest, because I want to talk to people about the most unbelievable scene that I saw. It's a true story, the climbing Mount Everest. Okay. This scene, they're sitting around the campfire. They're waiting to go up. They're at like base camp 2, whatever it is. And Josh Brolin's character looks at the other guys and goes, hey, guys, I feel a little guilty, you know. Forgot to tell my wife I was doing this. I had to rewind it. I had to rewind the thing. I swear to God, I rewound it. He forgot to tell his wife he's climbing Mount Everest. Let me tell you something. My wife is constantly telling me, you're the worst communicating husband in the world. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I found a guy. I found the Babe Ruth of non-communication. What could you do worse? What is there bigger in life? I guess if Neil Armstrong's wife was watching the moon landing, is that Neil? Is that Daddy on the moon?
So if you want to make it to the part of your relationship where you've been together for years and your significant other complains that you're a lousy communicator, you have to at first go on a date and have it work out and be successful. And if you are doing that thing where you pick someone up in your car, freaking clean the thing. Oh my gosh. And by the way, this doesn't strictly apply to guys. I've been driven places by girls. When I was in a band, I was on tour a lot. And you know what you don't have when you're on tour? A car in the city that you're in. You're traveling around in a tour bus. And, well, if someone wants to go out or take you out to dinner, you're fine. Can you pick me up? Or, you know, should I take a taxi there? Oh, you'll pick me up? Oh, great. You get into someone's car and you go, oh, I am absolutely judging you based on the contents of your car. Don't blow it on a date by having, well, a mess of an automobile.
You ever go to get in someone's car and they start apologizing as you get in the passenger seat? They're like, hey, don't worry about it. You can step on all that stuff. Don't worry about it. Step in Aquafina bottles, Dunkin' Donuts cups, Poland Springs. You step in, it's like... The whole time you're riding with your knees up to your chest. What's all this stuff on the floor? I feel like they always have one important thing on the floor. They're like, whoa, don't step on that. That's my application. Why is it on the floor? It's my sister's FAFSA. Right? Turn it in. Sometimes I don't feel like I don't think I'm a real man. Like, I don't feel like a real man. Like, I'm a real man. I got real man parts and stuff. I feel like I don't have enough tools, ties, and dress socks to be a real man. I feel like any real man I know has a lot of tools, a lot of ties, When do you get all those tools? Someone was like, you get those tools for gifts. I was like, ugh. If anyone ever bought me $200 worth of tools, I'd be like, return them and get me 4 PlayStation games.
Corey Rodriguez makes some very valid points. All right, so, you know, this isn't exactly hard-hitting news, but I find this to be fascinating and amazing. Do you watch, and bear in mind, where would you think I'm from if you heard my accent? Most people will tell me you don't have an accent. Like, it's that mid-Atlantic thing. You could be from literally anywhere in America. Very hard to pin down. I'm from New York. I certainly don't think I sound like I'm from New York. When I go back to New York and I talk to some of my New York friends, I think there's a bit of a New York accent that slips out. But really, there's no real reason for me to have a New York accent. The reason I have the accent I have is because I grew up in England. And people say, where's your English accent? I used to have much more of a pronounced English accent. And again, when I'm talking to friends from England, it slips out quite a bit more. But when I first started in radio, my very first boss I ever had, my very first program director, he said, this accent of yours. I was like, yeah. He's like, sort of an Anglo-American thing that you got going on. I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, pick one accent and stick with it. Because, well, people might think you're Canadian, and we can't have that. So I was like, all right, I never really had a real English accent. I had sort of tinges of an English accent because I went to an American school in England, and I lived in America for a little bit before then. So it was easier to become fully American as a broadcaster than to try and become fully English as a broadcaster. But as a consequence, I sort of have this nondescript, very hard to pin down, could be from anywhere accent. I do not have an English accent, but you know who does? Kids in America. Why? Because of the TV show Peppa Pig. If you're unaware of the popular cartoon character Peppa Pig and how Peppa Pig sounds, here's an intro to this show.
I'm Peppa Pig. This is my little brother George. This is Mummy Pig. And this is Daddy Pig. Peppa Pig.
So there you go. If you're an English cartoon pig, that's probably how you should talk. But apparently, there's quite a bit of evidence to suggest that English cartoons like Peppa Pig are making American kids develop British accents. Yeah, a lot of popular kids' cartoons today come from England, like Thomas the Tank Engine, although I think over here it's called Thomas and Friends, and Peppa Pig. And it's having this unexpected effect on kids. Apparently, some parents here in the US say that their kids have started speaking with British accents because they're mimicking what they hear on these shows. Have a listen to this.
Say Peppa and say it. Peppa.
Peppa.
And.
George. Can I mix it in a bowl?
Ooh, that looks good.
Can I mix it? Can I mix it?
How does Peppa Pig say no?
No.
How does she say water?
Water.
How does she say daddy?
Daddy.
How does she say mommy?
Mummy.
How does she
So
say
there
George?
you have it.
George.
Cartoons like Peppa Pig are making American kids develop British accents. But here's the thing. If you're worried about your kid having that accent permanently, actual psychologists have weighed in on this one because apparently it was a bit of a concern. Like, well, my kid's pretending to be British. This will be weird for them growing up. And so, like I said, psychologists got involved. Psychologists weighed in. They said that your kid will eventually drop it. Until then, though, enjoy them talking about tomatoes and zebras. Yeah, zebras. It's funny. I just remembered this now. But in England, right, when you are crossing the street, what they call the crosswalk, like the famous crosswalk that the Beatles are walking across as they are taking the picture outside Abbey Road Studios, that stripy crosswalk, because it's got black and white stripes, it's known as a zebra crossing. But, of course, it's England, so they say zebra. Yeah. I grew up taught that when I was going to cross the street as a young strip of a lad, to do so safely, I must do so at a zebra crossing. Yes, you heard that right. A zebra crossing. Have yourself a good one. We'll be back tomorrow on Valentine's Day. We'll do this all over again. We'll commiserate together.